You see, Codebreaker, that's the wondrous thing about community tab posts and modern technology. You can screenshot people's bullshit, that way whenever they do something utterly fucked up, after they say they'd never do such a thing, it makes it that much easier to walk up to someone's bullshit, fake moral grandstanding and bash it in the head with a fucking silver hammer. Keep in mind, this is a year ago. I forgot he was doing this for a fucking year. I forgot he was doing this for like a whole fucking year. Because honestly, it felt like it was only 6 months. Because I imagine everyone's been so busy with their personal shit, as have I, that it feels like it's been half the time, because half the time everyone else is tending to their own personal stuff. And then on occasion, they might pay attention to some fucking horse shit like this. Nevertheless, let's read this garbage. To Gage, I never knew that you were a victim of grape. Despite the fact that you openly went to Nat's channel where I explained everything that happened, saw the video, screenshot the video's title and thumbnail in a community tab post that pops up later, a month after you said this. But we're going to get to that in a minute. I think I know what you mean, though. No, you really don't. You don't really know what I mean. Like, at all. But now I do know. Can you stop typing like this? You sound like someone that suffered an aneurysm. I will never mention it again after this post. Keep in mind this was a year ago, and he mentioned it. He mentions it as a way to like take a pot shot at me like a fucking month later. I'm not sure why you needed to tell me. It's not. Here's the thing, I didn't need to tell you. The fact is, you accuse someone of abuse because they call other people fucking names for choosing to be their own worst enemy, all the while comparing what someone else goes through to something that's that minuscule, and then trying to say that they don't have a right to be upset with what happened to them when what happened to them was caused by other people and not themselves. Gage, one of your online friends is also abused as a child. Yeah, I'm well aware, as they mentioned in one of their videos, but I never mentioned that either. And I would never name that victim either. I know who it is. Not gonna mention who, because people that already know. Gage, as you know, I hate pedos. You hate them so much that you openly side with them later on, in regards to them crying about me hitting them with a DMCA, and about me counterclaiming them for criticizing their shit when they tried to hit my channel for it. But you know, you hate them so much up until the point where supporting them becomes convenient. Cocksucker. So again, I say, I am not sure why you needed to tell me that you were a victim of rape. It's not a matter of needing to tell you, dipshit. It's about the fact that you come, like, a month after this, you literally harass other people about it, and routinely try to throw that shit in people's face to make them feel bad about it when it's not the victim's fault in any situation. Even if they were a fucking moron, it doesn't excuse the other person taking advantage of them. Especially since I never use that sort of thing against the victim. How long are you gonna stick to that fucking story, dipshit? So you say I don't know you, but you don't know me either. What is there to know? You're a crazy little stalking fuckwit who goes out of his way to harass people and dig up details of their personal life to try to cause them distress. What is there to know at that point? So we are even on that one. Many people think they know me, but they don't. What is there to fucking know? Your entire existence that everyone has been aware of you as of the last year has been one of a perpetually stalking, annoying little cunt who has no life outside of this shit. What is it that people need to know when it is that they are exposed to routinely? I don't understand. Maybe I'm just a fucking moron. Maybe I'm just fucking dumb. But usually when someone behaves like that, and that's their entire interaction with everyone in your circle of friends and yourself for literally no other reason other than the fact that their fucking brain dead gorilla of a leader got their ass hurt by being called names, there's not really much else to say about that person except fuck you, go away, you're annoying, and I hope you end up dead. Like, that's the only fucking reaction a person can realistically have to someone who tries taking pot shots of their personal life over fucking nothing. Or over something so minuscule that it's basically comparable to being nothing. Look, it's Gage, the guy who verbally abuses others, then complains others have treated him badly. Gage, it makes no sense at all when you play victim, but you yourself verbally abuse others. Wow. What now? You suddenly get a set of morals? Talk about zero self-awareness. Motherfucker, you literally stalk people for attention because no one gives a fuck that you even exist. Your life is so inconsequential that an amoeba could die on someone's ass cheek, and that amoeba would deserve more of a funeral and a burial than you ever would. But let me just correct your brain-dead ass for a minute, shall I? No. Verbal abuse only applies if people are actually in a relationship with you or if they have some level of authority over you in some sort of domestic way. That is not the same thing as people like Isaac, aka Marshall Mathers the Force, aka Darth Nihilist, aka Black-Pilled Bitch Cell, where they basically complain and whine and cry about their problems, not because they actually want people to offer them advice to seek help, but because it's easier for them to blame other people for being happy, because blaming the happy people is an easier way for them to feel like the world's still the problem and not them for having a shitty attitude and choosing to do shitty things. I don't know why the fuck it is that you pick and choose who's right and who's wrong based upon who hurt your feelings last. That's what it feels like to me. It just feels like I hurt your feelings and you're crying about it, but you don't want to address the fact that I hurt your feelings and just admit it. So you want to dance around saying it by essentially suggesting that I don't have morals because I disagree with other people being assholes and blaming other people for their problems, even if the people that are being blamed have literally nothing to fucking do with it except that they exist. Like, that was my point when I was ridiculing Darth Nihilus, is that all of his dumb shit was basically him blaming other people for just existing within his general vicinity. People that have never done anything to wrong him personally. And he hates these people because they're happy and because they exist within eyeshot. Am I not allowed to tell him that his attitude is just the perpetual baby bitch attitude of a fucking whiner who's never going to be happy because he's constantly sabotaging his own happiness just so he can cry on the internet and blame the world for it? No. I'm not being unfair when I say that, because when you're an adult and you choose to act like everyone else in the room is an asshole just because you're miserable, because you don't actually have the balls to sit down and say, you know what, I have a problem, I really need to look at this, I really need to figure this shit out. I mean, people have openly came to him with advice, have offered him genuine suggestions and genuine help to try to get him on his feet and get him on a much better path towards his mental health journey. But instead of actually taking these people up on their offers or listening to them, he would bitch and whine and say that they're assholes for genuinely wanting to be of some help to him. So of course I'm not going to be nice to that cocksucker, because it means that he doesn't give a shit about getting better. He just gives a shit about making his problem the world's problem. People like him make men who genuinely struggle with mental health issues look bad, because for all the men that want to get help but are afraid to talk about it, there's at least one asshole like him who basically makes them all look bad because he's usually the most vocal about everything. Even the people who genuinely struggle with issues of self-worth and self-confidence are unfortunately colored by the same fucking brush that he's allowed to paint with. So of course I'm gonna dislike that. I'm going to have a lot of shit to say against someone like that, because I don't like the fact that there are people who will actively destroy the healthy representation of people seeking mental health assistance because they would much rather blame the world and bitch about their problems on social media. Of course I'm going to have a problem with that. This isn't like someone sitting down and saying, look, I have some problems, I don't know who to reach, I don't know who to contact, I don't know who to speak to. Is there anyone that can maybe direct me in the guide, like any sort of assistance for mental health in my area? You know, shit like that. Something that might actually get him on the road to recovery. But he never did any of that shit. Like, he never did any of that shit at all. Like, do you know what he did instead? He sat around and pissed and moaned and tried to blame other people for his problems. And if you account his really weird, borderline pedophilic interest involving his younger sister's shit-covered underwear, that's an entirely different thing that I'm not going to get into because I don't want to fucking throw up. Here's the thing, I'm not playing victim. I just don't like it when people try to label me as something fucking horrific or bring up horrible shit that happened to me in my life as a way to try to leverage my fucking emotions against me to try to make me feel like I'm worse than they are. Of course I'm going to have problems with people trying to label me as horrific shit. And I'm especially going to have problems with someone trying to walk up to me about something that fucked me up for a good long part of my life, just so they can fucking hit me with it like a fucking stick whenever they have a shit day and their tiny dick isn't happy. Of course I'm going to take issue with that. Only a fucking doormat wouldn't. How is it my fault that you're a comatose koala who is so incredibly devoid of intelligence that you seemingly don't understand why it is a person would take issue with that? Suddenly get a set of morals? Well, here's the thing, I've always had morals, and my morals have always been pretty clear. You just selectively ignore certain reasons that I talk about people in specific manners because it's convenient for you. That's all it is. You're basically just playing selective ignorance. You don't want to listen to what I'm saying about people or why because it's easier to say that I'm an asshole, more so than it is to acknowledge the fact that the reason I behave that way towards certain people is because they more or less make it easy as hell for me to point out, yeah, you kind of fucked your own life up here by being a brain-dead little fuckwit, chasing his own ass around the room, trying to tell himself the world was the problem and not his attitude. Of course I'm going to be ridiculing people when they have that fucking pissy attitude about everything, because talking to them like they're fucking 4 isn't going to help. The reason they turned out that way is because they were fucking isolated from criticism and admonishment. They were isolated from the typical shaming mechanisms that are used to get someone to rectify their fucking behavior. Doesn't help the fact that Isaac has a fucking 9th grade education, which means he has no idea what the fuck any of that means. Because he has no proper socialization. That's another problem, is the fact that he is not properly socialized. So since he has no proper socialization skills, he doesn't know how to talk to anyone. And these are all things that are offered by mental health experts. They are offering like exposure therapy and like clinical group therapies where people struggling with self-confidence are allowed to converse with each other and try to improve their communication skills so that they feel confident enough to talk to other people. But again, all of these solutions are solutions that Isaac fucking ignored because he didn't want help. What he wants to do is bitch about it and get attention. Because for some reason, getting help is considered more of a problem than bitching about it and humiliating himself is. So yeah, like, don't say, well, you're an abuser, you're an abuser. Like, here's the thing, you say you're not going to use it against me, then what do you call that? Like, what do you call it when you immediately do the very thing you say you're not going to do? I think I call that using it against someone. You brain-dead fucking chud. Like, another question I have is, like, I don't understand why you find this appropriate to, quote, make fun of, considering the fact that this is not meant to be a me thing. This is just meant to be an overall statement regarding my concern about the overall mental health of men in the Western society. But remember, we're not going to listen to this and actually have a discussion about what can be done to improve men's mental health as a group. Because, you know, having a discussion like that where we could actually see some solutions to the problem and maybe help people that need the help, that's out of the question. Like, why would I want to contribute to resolving an issue if I can be a dipshit and scream about dumb shit and try to make it everyone else's problem that I survived another night? Seemingly is like your fucking strategy here. Whoopsie, a resident zombie, the one who never laughs. Do zombies normally laugh? Is having another quote not okay or day or week or month? Again, me simply saying that men in the Western world seemingly struggle with mental health more than others. on account of the fact that mental health is stigmatized by the overall, like the zeitgeist that we call pop culture and social media, that men feel like they cannot approach someone to resolve their mental health issues because they're afraid of being harassed and looked down on or being belittled or demeaned by their friends or even their family. And that's why a lot of men decide that they just don't want to live anymore. I mean, here's the thing. Over 2,400 men a day commit suicide. That's a pretty good hunk of people a day. Even in a population of 7 billion, that's still a sizable number. And the reason that they end up going that way is because they get sick and tired of pretending to be okay. They get sick and tired of pretending to be happy, pretending to be content in whatever life that they live, pretending that they struggle less than they really do. And there are men that just get sick and tired of pretending. They get sick and tired of smiling through all the bad shit that happened to them because they just can't do it anymore. Like, all the strength that they had psychologically to push through things that were difficult for them is gone. And I feel like that is something that does need to be discussed. It does need to be addressed because it can save people's lives. Being able to be someone's ear to listen to their problems is an easier way to save lives and possibly encourage people to talk to people around them about their struggles so that they can actually improve their life and their well-being, so that they can maybe have happier lives once they find a way to properly cope with the difficulties that they face in life. Whether it be from a job that doesn't pay them very well, from a world that seems to demonize them for just existing, which is one of the major things that I brought up in that video. Not like you'd pay attention to it, you're too fucking stupid to listen. It's obvious you're not listening to what was actually said and why, because you're too busy trying to throw stones over it. I'll tell you what. You have your best friend send you a suicide note that they wrote but never got around to using because they got to their senses before they went through with it. And then you realize just how close you were to losing your best friend. Try having people in your family take their own lives because they get stressed out and frustrated with constantly wondering whether or not they are enough or whether or not they're doing enough to fucking survive. These are things that need to be talked about. These are things that need to be addressed because society is fucking apathetic to this problem. And the reason society is apathetic to it is because men are told their entire lives that whenever something is wrong, whenever they are in pain, their job is to not say a word and then hope everything goes away. But a man who is traumatized, a man who is suffering, a man who is slowly grinding away at the last bit of self-control he has before he reaches for the gun in his drawer, that guy is not going to be able to stay quiet forever. And unfortunately, usually what happens when someone's at the end of their rope means they either hurt someone else or themselves. And the fact that you don't think that needs to be talked about because for whatever reason you don't think that there needs to be a solution to that fucking problem says volumes about you as a human being. It's not a matter of me. It's a matter of the overarching conversation that needs to be had regarding men's mental health and how it falls by the wayside. Ironically, men's mental health in terms of the overall fucking attitude towards mental health has actually gotten worse than it was back in the 1980s when psychology and therapy was just being pioneered. That's how bad it's gotten. It's all because cocksuckers like you basically say that whenever something is fucked up is happening to someone that they're just supposed to sit down and deal with it. And then you're trying to tell everyone else in the room that they're idiots because they say that this needs to be addressed, this needs to be fucking handled, this needs to be discussed. People need to actually pay attention to this shit. And yet for some reason you're trying to belittle me because I say it is a fucking problem. Well, tell me something. Is male suicide not a problem to you? And the reason I say male suicide is because more men kill themselves than women each year. And more often than not, the reason men kill themselves is usually because they feel like they have no place in the world. They feel like they're not cared about as people. Because every day they exist, they're belittled by other people just for existing. And the problem is, all the decent, kind, good men who have never done shit to anyone are looked at poorly because of the actions of a few horrible pieces of shit. And yet you're trying to say that a person doesn't have the right to be bothered by that doesn't have the right to say, yeah, this is a problem we need to fucking address. Seriously. Like, why does this deserve to be made fun of and ridiculed? This is genuinely what someone would want to discuss if there needs to be a solution had. I don't understand what's funny about that. I mean, maybe I'm just not a retard fucking troglodyte who literally sucks his own dick with a vacuum hose. Like, maybe I'm just that fucking dumb that I just don't eat my own shit like you probably do. But the fact is, this is a problem that affects a lot more people than you care to admit. Hell, it probably even affects your brain-dead friends' family members, for all I know. Odds are good, statistics suggest the likelihood of it. But remember, it doesn't matter because I said it, not because of what I'm saying. Because apparently, who says it matters more than what's being said in the mind of a brain-dead fucking leper.